In 1994, a bizarre music video was shown on television. People with creepy smiles, snake tongues, and a black hole that swallowed everyone. At the time, it just seemed like a strategy to shock and get attention. But as the years went by, it became obvious that nothing in that song was by accident. Each scene revealed the filthiest side of humanity. Every detail hid a disgusting social habit. And every verse was a warning that all of this is about to destroy us. Today, I'm going to reveal the story behind Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden. I'm Guilherme, and you're watching Decipher Hits.
Black hole sun, won't you come?
One night in 1993, the lead singer Chris Cornell from Soundgarden was driving back home after a long recording session at Berry Creek Studio, about 40 minutes from Seattle. The band's fourth album, Super Unknown, was almost finished, but after 6 months of production, stress and creative block had already taken over everyone in the band. Exhausted, Chris Cornell turned on the radio to the news to stay awake on the road, and still sleepy, he could barely understand the words the announcer was saying. In the middle of all that mental confusion, he caught just one phrase: Black Hole Sun. The sun, the black hole. Chris thought that phrase was spectacular, even though it didn't make any sense, and later he found out he had misunderstood what the announcer said. The expression Black Hole Sun kept echoing in his head, and he knew he had to use it in his next song. Besides that, a certain melody immediately came to his mind, almost like in a stream of consciousness. Chris Cornell was so inspired that as soon as he got home, he grabbed paper and a pen and wrote, in just 15 minutes, the lyrics to Black Hole Sun, the song that would become Soundgarden's biggest hit and one of the best in grunge history. When asked about the lyrics, Chris Cornell said that they had no meaning, and that it was just him playing with words. But when you look at the translation, you realize that every verse overflows with traces of the singer's depression and how he saw society. In fact, Chris Cornell suffered from severe depression and spoke openly about it in several interviews, including when he referred to Black Hole Sun.
The title is more or less kind of a bit of asking for hope or feeling, sort of grasping for some kind of hope out of depression or feeling sort of lost or sad. But the lyrics were more or less inspired by the music, so it's kind of ethereal and dreamy, and it's, I didn't really go for anything specific there.
But if he didn't think of anything specific when writing, how come the lyrics say so much about him? It turns out that it's almost impossible to create any piece of art without revealing aspects of your personality. Psychology calls this a projective test. You know when you take a psychological aptitude test and they ask you to draw a little house, a tree, and a person? Well, it's kind of like that. When we draw or write something without planning, our conscious mind lets its guard down and the unconscious traits of our personality overflow, revealing what's really underneath all our thoughts, intentions, and actions. That's why there are so many Linkin Park songs that relate to Chester Bennington's depression, even if he didn't intend it. And the same goes for Chris Cornell. A large part of the songs he wrote relate to his depression, like the famous Like a Stone, which we've already deciphered here on the channel. By the way, in the Super Unknown album itself, which includes Black Hole Sun, depression acts as the thread that connects all the tracks, making the album almost a concept album. Knowing this, it becomes easy to understand several passages from Black Hole Sun, for example.
Boiling heat, summer stench.
Scorching heat, summer stench. Beneath the darkness, the sky seems dead. In other words, the sun, summer, the beach, and everything that society sees as wonderful can be irrelevant, colorless, and bland for someone who is depressed. And the chorus itself, Black Hole Sun
Won't you come?
Why doesn't the black hole just come and take everything away already? It suggests that he leads such an empty, meaningless life that the only thing he can do is wait for the day the black hole comes and ends his suffering. It's a metaphor for death itself. But the meaning of Black Hole Sun goes far beyond depression, and also offers harsh criticism of society, which becomes much more evident when we look at the music video. Guys, before we continue, let me just share a little secret. There are a lot of interesting facts and dark mysteries about these songs that YouTube doesn't like us to talk about here, and that's why it limits the reach of some videos. I discovered a place to bypass this annoying algorithm censorship. In fact, I've already decoded Highway to Hell Paranoid by Black Sabbath, Homem na Estrada, Bad Guy by Eminem, and many other songs with very dark stories over there. I'm talking about the Decipher Hits members area. To join is really easy, just click the join button or the link in the pinned comment. Back to the video. Directed by Howard Greenhall, the music video is totally surreal, saturated, and disturbing. While the band plays on a hill, we see scenes of a typical upper-class American neighborhood with families and people who are just a little too perfect. At the beginning, we also see 4 characters representing the major religions in America, all carrying signs saying that the end is near. But the creepiest thing, without a doubt, is the facial expression of the people in this place. They look unhappy in a bizarre, almost maniacal way. Everyone has bulging eyes, exaggerated makeup, and overly forced smiles, exposing the fake, manufactured happiness that people put on every day. In the house, we see an ecstatic couple, completely dazed, watching butterflies on a chandelier, which represents how people are living numb, oblivious to what is really happening in the world. The man, practically in a hypnotic trance, is on all fours, mesmerized in front of the television. The most incredible thing is that more than 30 years later, these scenes are still a perfect example of what we're living through today. If before it was television, today it's cell phones and social media with infinite scrolling, with algorithms that manipulate and addict people. And as for the artificial smiles, they're more and more present in apps like Instagram, where people project a false happiness, a happiness that's just for show. It's as if everyone is wearing a mask just to hide the emptiness, the black hole that exists inside them. This feeling becomes clear right in the first line of the song. In my eyes, without any will, under disguises that no one recognizes, a face is hidden. That's where the serpent lives. This idea of a social mask isn't something new. This concept has been discussed in science for centuries. The psychologist Carl Jung called it the persona. In his words, the persona is a kind of mask designed on one hand to make a definite impression on others, and on the other to conceal the true nature of the individual. It's the social face each person presents to society. Have you noticed that, whether it's at family gatherings, at nightclubs, or at your company's parties, everyone is always happy and smiling, but you know that this happiness isn't genuine. Except for children, animals, and babies, who truly experience pure happiness, we live in a society of masks, and behind them, we hide what Carl Jung calls the shadow. The shadow is the dark side of our social mask, made up of repressed traits of our personality, desires and instincts that are socially unacceptable, shameful, or even illegal, but that can be present in any human being. In Black Hole Sun, the shadow is represented by the figure of the serpent, the snake that slips out at certain moments in the music video. Not only that, but the video also criticizes other much darker aspects of society. The woman cutting the fish with that psychopath look is a criticism of animal cruelty, and the girl holding a vibrator while watching a guy work out is a criticism of pornography. The girl who answers the call of the religious man is a criticism of pedophilia, and the woman in the bathtub with the dog is a criticism of zoophilia. In this scene, while the mother tans her body artificially to look perfect like a doll, the girl is inspired by her mother and soon after starts burning her doll on the grill. In other words, this shows how parents, with their unhealthy habits, can distort their children's minds, creating children who'll grow up depressed, manic, or even become psychopaths, as we see in the scene where the children torture a cockroach for fun. In addition, we also see a girl dancing happily in front of a man who has just been killed by bees, which exposes how some absurd things are already being normalized in society, to the point where death and the suffering of others no longer generate any empathy. Just like the other criticisms, this one is more evident than ever. In the era of social media, especially with Instagram, where one of the most followed influencers on the platform is someone who promotes gambling and sells products that have caused burns to people's eyes. And in the second verse, Chris Cornell says, "It's over for honest people. Sometimes dishonest people last too long." This is a criticism of a society that rewards cheaters, those who step on others, while the honest ones, who follow the rules and walk the straight path, are the ones who have the hardest time getting ahead in life. Once again, this is something that's more and more relevant nowadays. Just remember the influencers promoting Tigrim, the betting sites, and the charlatans who deceived millions of people by selling courses with false promises, which ended up harming even those who did honest work, since the whole image of course sellers became completely tarnished. In an interview, Cornell commented on this line, saying, "It's hard to create your own freedom, and it's going to get harder and harder, creating more and more disillusioned people who will become dishonest, angry, and willing to mess up someone else's life to get what they want. There are a lot of people stepping on others to get ahead in our profession. We're lucky we've never had to do that. Part of that is due to our determination, and the other part is because we were lucky. From the beginning of the music video, we only see the black hole forming in the sky, foreshadowing the apocalypse. But people seem to live oblivious to all of that, as if they care more about themselves, about their own ego. The only one there who appears with a normal look is Cornell, as if only he understood what was really happening. Little by little, the sun turns into an ever-growing black hole, and all the residents of the neighborhood end up being sucked in. That was exactly what Cornell wanted, for the black hole to come and swallow all of humanity, putting an end to all the falseness, evil, and human suffering. In my head, focus my mind, drown my fear until all of you disappear. The most impressive thing is that with just one song, Cornell managed not only to face his own demons, but also to expose the darkest, most rotten side of society. Just so you know, this kind of denunciation was so common in the lyrics of legends like Cornell, Chester Bennington, and Kurt Cobain, that some people believe none of them chose to leave this world, but rather that all three were eliminated because they knew too much. Kurt Cobain himself, for example, was never afraid to expose in his songs those who commit crimes against women, and especially against children. A great example of this is Polly, the most disturbing song by the band Nirvana.
Polly wants a cracker.
Based on a real case, Polly describes the struggle of a 14-year-old girl who, after falling into the hands of a criminal, manages to trick her abuser, manipulate him, and after much suffering, barely escapes. For those who can stomach it, I've already told this whole story, uncensored, in our members area, which is where I bring videos with stories so heavy that YouTube would definitely take down the channel if I posted them here publicly. Click here to become a Decipher Hits member. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.